Hey everybody, William Patrick Corrigan here, Smashing Pumpkins. Excited to make this big announcement.
Welcome to episode 76 of the Hipsters United podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me this week are Susan.
Hello.
And Eric.
Oh,
that was much longer than last time. Eric is joining us from the other side of the world to talk all about Billy's big announcements. So let's start where Billy started. The final Teargarden song as we know it will be released soon, hopefully within the next week or so. And the identity of that song has been revealed as Owata, which debuted live all the way back in October of 2008 at the Bridge School Benefit Concert. This will be the last new Teargarden song we get for a while. We'll talk more about why in just a little bit. But Susan, there were plenty of songs that could possibly have been released here. Anything from As Rome Burns to My Love is Winter. Are you happy with the choice of Owata?
I don't know that I'd say I'm disappointed with the choice of Owata, but I think I'm a little surprised. I guess I really thought he was going to shelve some of the older songs, like from 2008. I didn't really think they would make it to the album, like specifically Ezra and Burns and Owata. So I really think that's a pretty song. I like it. I don't know that I'm super pumped for it. I'm interested to see what he does with it in the studio. I think there's some live recording versions of it that are out there that I'm really happy with. And I think it's, just a very pretty, simple song. And I'm not really sure how much could be done to enhance it beyond some of the live versions, because I really like some of the live versions that we have. I think I would have been more curious to hear studio versions of some other songs that might have been, enhanced more by the studio. But I'm always interested to see what he comes up with, so hey.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see which version of Owata is the canonical version, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
We had the kind of more stripped down, more acoustic version, the original one. And then last summer it became more of a rock song that the people here in Columbus were moshing to. So I'm wondering which one will be the one that gets the release, and which one will be the obviously superior to all hardcore fans live version. Since, of course, that's how it will be. The live version will always be better than whatever gets released. What do you think, Eric?
I'm trying to see if I've actually ever heard it live other than the last year in Tokyo. Doesn't look like I have. So I only really know like the one live version. I don't know. I without having heard or without having reference of the other various versions, I can't really say how it'll come out, but look at how many different versions of like Blue Skies Bring Tears there were and how vastly different those all were. So I'm sure that there'll be some changes to the studio version.
I really liked the Chris Isaak show version of it. I actually really like the Chris Isaak show set as a whole.
Yeah, I did too.
Very much. And so for me, just because I really like that whole set and I like Owata, that version of Owata, it would be kind of hard to top that because I just really, really enjoy that version. But, again, maybe he will add lots of synthesizer to it. Who knows? So, I'm always open to seeing what happens. In some ways, I think this song is kind of a song that, a sort of a stripped down version would be very enjoyable. But I have a feeling there's going to be more to it than that. Just a hunch. So.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know. I haven't minded the synthesizer in the previous songs. I've actually kind of liked it, but I don't know if I'd be that welcoming to a lot of synthesizer over Owata. I don't know.
Here's the real question, though. Which city will be the canonical city? I think Jason said this somewhere in a comment or something. Yeah, so what city is he going to put in there? And what city is he going to mention?
I don't know.
It's try all over again.
So the reason that we won't be hearing any new Teargarden tunes for a while is that Billy and company are going into the studio to write and record what he's calling an album within an album, called, and I won't pronounce it the same way as Billy, Oceania, which he's ambitiously slated for September 1st of this year for a release. Eric, do you think 4 months is enough time to record, mix, and release a 9 to 11 song album?
For Billy, probably. I mean, he's obviously got more than enough songs already written. He'll probably write new ones specifically for this anyway, just because that's the kind of crazy guy he is. But I'm sure he can, like, crank those things out pretty quickly.
Well, I gathered that what he's been doing in Arizona for the past month or two was writing. Now, whether that was, I mean, he says writing, whether writing means writing his spiritual memoir or whether writing means writing songs, but, is up for debate, I suppose. But I really think he has been writing some new music over the last couple months. The way, I don't know, I'm kind of perceiving it as they're going in and doing totally new music, and maybe then after they do this album within an album, they'll even return to some of the older music, possibly, that he still wants to record, something like, I don't know, Ezra Burns. But, I mean, the way I'm interpreting everything we've been told is that what they're going to be doing now is new stuff. This is going down the rabbit hole, in the words of his Facebook post. But I don't know. Every time I try to interpret what Billy Corgan means, I end up being wrong. So I'm probably wrong, but that's my interpretation of what we've been told anyway. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe one or two of the songs are ones we've heard or at least heard of, but I really do also think it's going to be the majority of them are stuff that he has not played live or alluded to in the past.
It's pretty exciting. Yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting stuff. You alluded to the time crunch there. I don't know. I mean, in some ways, one of the complaints about Teargarden is that it's taken him so long to seemingly get each song out. But then again, we've talked in this forum before about what's driving that. Is it trying to set up partnerships with websites? Is it getting a physical box set ready that's taking so much time? There's any number of things that are seemingly going into that. I mean, I think with his new approach, where he's not trying to record all the parts, where he's got a full band working with him, in some ways is actually faster. It frees him up to, be working on other projects while other people are getting their parts in. So in some ways, I think that method could help them move faster. But it does seem to kind of be a tight time frame, honestly. I guess we'll just see what happens. And I think I'm still unclear, too, whether is this a physical release? Is it a digital release? We don't have any of those details either. So
yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be a digital release just because I just don't know how they could possibly record it, mix it, get it all ready, and do like packaging and get it all printed and sent to distributors and whatever. I just don't see how that would be possible. I mean, I know that the September 1st date is probably not going to be hit, let's be honest. But even if the album is only 10 songs long, that's how long a standard album is for most bands, and how long does it take most bands to record and get the album fully out the door and in a store? I think a lot of the time is like coordinating distribution and getting things printed and all that. And some people I think have been speculating that maybe part of the negotiations with EMI is that they would be releasing this album, but I just think with the timeline and with the other stuff that they're going to be doing that we're going to be talking about in a little bit, I just foresee this being digital only, which again brings up the question, is it going to be promoted somewhere? Will it be for sale on iTunes, or will it be free? I know that's been a hot topic online of whether this will continue the free song Teargarden releases or whether it will be something different that he'll charge for.
Well, I think when he says we're going to go record an album old school, what I got from that is that it's going to actually be a physical album. I mean, he has been releasing everything in a physical format in addition to the digital downloads. Whether that'll come out at the same time, we don't know yet, but I don't see there not being a physical release for this.
I guess that's another possibility, is it could be an eventual physical release, so they could release it digitally sometime in September and then release it physically later. And I guess if they limit the run like they have for the EPs that they've released so far, if they're only printing 5,000 copies and doing all this stuff themselves, it probably wouldn't take any longer than it took to do the EPs. Which I still think was longer than 4 months, but we'll see.
The physical release will come with a bonus tarot card.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be the return of the smashing tchotchkes.
Yeah, there's actually been discussion of the tarot card. In some ways, I mean, I'm actually more excited about the album than I thought I would be. Because everybody in the fandom was buzzing, oh, there's going to be an album. The changes, there's going to be an album. And, I wasn't as pumped about that idea as maybe some other people were. I was kind of still interested in maybe giving him a little more time to explore the one song at a time format, even though it was getting a little frustrating, admittedly. But now that I know the title of it, for some reason, I don't know, the title is really appealing to me, and so I'm a little bit more tantalized than I thought I would be by by the fact that an album is coming. I also think it might have to do with the fact that it's going to be so soon, because that's kind of exciting. At the same time, I don't know. I mean, in some ways, it seems like his concept album of the tarot with the 44 songs, 11 EPs, that's kind of changed now. I mean, I wonder how that, not that Billy's concept albums are ever super rigorously sticking to the concept, but I don't know, like fans were thinking, oh, well, eventually maybe it'll be a tarot card for each song, because obviously there's been imagery on the website which has changed every time a new song has come out. And I kind of think it messes with the conceptual purity of Teargarden in some ways. Not that I even really understand what the concept behind Teargarden is totally at this point, but I thought maybe it would be revealed when we got that final super duper box set. So I don't know. I have some mixed feelings about it, but I think I am a lot more excited about it than I thought I would be. Mostly just because I think the title's cool and it's coming so soon, and I'm interested to see what they do kind of under the pressure of getting this all recorded so quickly.
I really wonder what happens if he does this and it's successful, or if he kind of enjoys it more than he did the one song at a time thing. I know right now he's kind of intending to go back to Teargarden, whether it's Teargarden in the same format it's been or something different, we don't know, but I wonder if this experience he has recording this album ends up kind of dampening him on Teargarden and distracting him from ever finishing it.
I think his pride will force him to go on. I really do. I think that's why this is the album within an album. I think clearly he recognizes that right now, the moment he's in, Teargarden at least isn't working for him, and I'm sure he realizes it hasn't been, a smashing success on the PR front. So, but I think the album within an album thing allows him to save a little face. I don't want to be too cynical about this, but obviously the original concept of Teargarden has changed. I think he'll try to stick to it as much as he can, the whole idea of 44 songs for free. I would be surprised if these songs, at least eventually, aren't free on their website. But obviously he's made some compromises already about the format, and I don't know, will he make another 10-song album to get the total up to 40 and then release 4 trump card songs? Who knows? I don't know. But
yeah, we did have the Fellowship come out on the Vampire Diaries thing first, and then it was downloadable.
Yeah, I really think, if he abandons the whole idea of 44 songs for free, any media outlet that wants to criticize him is going to pounce on that, I think. So, I don't know. I think he'll try to stick to that, even if it's, recording another full album and calling it the second album within an album for Teargarden.
Yeah.
I really just do, but, who knows what'll happen.
It just seems to me like the reason he went away from albums in the first place was the state that the band was in at the time, where it really was just him and Mike, and he didn't really see that as being enjoyable or conducive to sitting in the studio for a long period of time and writing an album. But I think the dynamic that he has with all of the band members now has kind of made him reconsider and think, oh, well, maybe doing an old-fashioned album isn't so bad after all. But it turns out that the reason this announcement was so delayed for the past few weeks was that Billy was in negotiations with EMI regarding the rights to his old material. The upshot is that the entire pre-breakup catalog of major releases, not counting lulled appeal sessions, things of that sort, will be reissued in a remastered form with unreleased bonus tracks included on both CD and on vinyl. And this year the plan is to release Gish, Siamese Dream, and Pisces Iscariot, so let's talk bonus material. Eric, Gish is a pretty short album. There's lots of room for bonus tracks there. What do you think that we'll see as likely tracks for Gish bonus tracks and outtakes?
Well, there is a ton of pre-Gish stuff from various sources that have either been very, very limitedly released, like the Rarities and B-Sides thing has a couple of tracks that you can find without being like a hardcore vinyl collector, or like bootlegged on Mashed Potatoes or the real-time sessions. But there's about 80 songs that I counted on SPFC that are Gish or pre-Gish era, and only about 10 of those have been released in some semi-accessible format. We've got lull and peel sessions, which theoretically anyone can go to the record store and get, and then the vinyl B-sides, which are on the Rarities and B-sides digital release. But then there's this huge list of stuff that's on Mashed Potatoes, Real Time, Nothing Ever Changes, Moon Demo, the Pumpkins demo tape. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there.
So do you think we'll see anything that obscure as like a official unreleased bonus track? I'm kind of thinking that he's going to stick to like the less obscure, like the best of the best, if you will. Like maybe the vinyl B-sides, Slunk, Not Worth Asking, that sort of thing.
Actually, before this started, I was going through my old notes and I found a few interesting tidbits. So I'm going to cheat here and go back to Billy's old words. Granted, these are from 10 years ago, so he may have either forgotten about this or changed his mind. But in 2000, he mentioned this exact project of re-releasing all the old albums with kind of remixed, reordered, adding B-sides or making a double albums and adding a bunch of unreleased stuff. He actually mentioned putting like Jesus Loves His Babies onto Gish. And actually he said that there weren't that many Gish songs or Gish era songs, which is weird when I actually go through and look at it. There's way more Gish and pre-Gish songs than that we know of than Siamese Dream era songs that we know of that weren't released. I counted only 17 Siamese Dream era songs that weren't on the album. I mean, you've got 3 CD available B-sides and 4 vinyl available B-sides and the Rarities B-sides thing. And then 7 Mashed Potatoes and demo songs and a couple of live-only songs. So I think Gish has a lot of room for, extra stuff.
Well, especially when he's talking about, what was it? He was even talking about stuff, he was listening to stuff recently, he tweeted from like 86 or something. So, I mean, he's going pretty far, he's mining pretty far back, right?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if he's going to kind of divide the material between stuff that he thinks probably only the hardcore people would be interested in. Like, he mentioned this 1987 rehearsals in his announcement, and save that stuff for what we haven't talked about yet, which is kind of the digital box set, online only stuff, and for the actual albums have more of the more mainstream of the obscure unreleased songs.
Sure.
Not Worth Asking. I'd like to see There It Goes get released. It's a good song. But the other thing is, all of these B-sides from Gish and Siamese Dream that ended up on Pisces Iscariot, are they going to be reboxed as part of Gish and Siamese Dream? And if so, how is he going to re-release Pisces Iscariot? Are they going to release them twice on different things, or release like different versions of it maybe?
Yeah, I don't think he would release it twice. I think the songs that are on Pisces will stay on Pisces, and that's, I mean,
Well, like, when we were talking about this 10 years ago, he specifically mentioned Drown and Starla going with Gish, and then, like, the original Hello Kitty Cat and Frail and Bedazzled going on to Siamese Dream in kind of a double album form. But aside from Drown, which was on the soundtrack, all the other songs were on Pisces Iscariot. So unless he's going to do, like, a different take or a different version of it, I don't see him releasing the same version of the same song on two different things. Although that has probably happened before. Well, we do have, like Machina 2 has two different versions of at least two songs, right? There's a three. Glass Theme, Cash Carstar, and If There Is a God.
Right. But according to the Pisces Iscariot liner notes, they have a no record 2 times rule that they follow very strictly.
Yeah.
Funny.
Already.
I guess when I was first conceiving of this project, like when he was talking about it on Facebook in December, and I really began to feel like it might be a definite possibility coming up, in the next year or two. I was thinking that he was going to be releasing like these elaborate physical box sets, like the Aeroplane Flies High style, in which there would be like pictures, when he was collecting all those pictures a few years ago of Gish era photos of the band, fans send in your pictures or whatever. And so that he was going to be collecting all this stuff for a physical box set that would have, among it, obviously remastered albums, and then the best of the stuff that's out there that maybe casual fans or your average rock music critic wouldn't have heard, but also just some, maybe a disc of quote unquote weird stuff, like that the hardcore fan would like. But doesn't really seem like that's the route they're going. It seems more like, they're going to select probably the best stuff. And so when I was thinking about it, a couple months ago, what I was assuming is, maybe there wouldn't be a Pisces Iscariot box set, because Pisces Iscariot isn't really an era that the way I consider, Gish, Siamese Dream, or Melancholy to be eras in the band. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think they're probably just going to, choose whatever they think is best, slap some of them on Gish, slap some of them on Siamese Dream, and maybe slap the rest on Pisces. But, we'll see. But.
Well, it seems like Billy's approach when he's talking about, we aren't really going to talk too much about it today, but for the Machina and Machina 2, it seems like his approach is he wants to take the songs from both of them and like throw them in a blender and make it like it was one album, like the album it could have been, if you will, the double or triple album that it could have been. So if he's going to take that approach with these albums also, like, what could Gish have been if we included some of our outtakes, then, maybe he will put some of the Pisces Iscariot stuff on it, because I think that Siamese Dream definitely could have included Hello Kitty Cat.
Right. He also mentioned a Butch Vig remix of the original 7-inch version of I Am One, and then a weird acoustic song with Jimmy playing bongos. So, there's stuff. There's obviously going to be stuff that we have never heard of,
or even stuff that we've just kind of heard of but not heard.
Right.
Or full band Set the Rate of Jerry from Gish era.
Yeah, I went through the song list last night, clicking on unreleased, not played live, whatever, going through all the different things and clicking through each song to try and find out all this stuff. There's some stuff in there that we have no information on whatsoever. And it's just like, this is an unreleased song. And it's like, well, how do we know? Who came up with this stuff? It hasn't been played live. It's not on any bootlegs, but you have a title. And even stuff that, isn't from, a whiteboard. I'm saying a lot. I'm sorry, people.
You can take the flack, yeah.
This time it's my turn.
I get really frustrated with people, and I've seen people saying this on the O board and wherever else, especially as regards melancholy, which I know we're kind of holding back on that a little bit for future podcasts, but these people who are like, how could there possibly be more music? We've already gotten, 50 songs. There's not any more music. And I'm like, people, like, this is Billy Corgan. Do you not understand? Just really drives me crazy. There's so much out there that none of us have heard except maybe Frank Quinto or somebody.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, Frank pretty much came out and said on the O board back when he was working as the archivist that there was a lot of stuff that we hadn't heard.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone noticed on SPFC, he put in some set lists for some of the older 88, 89 concerts that have some songs in them that we haven't heard.
Air. I was looking at that. I'm like, where did this come from? There's suddenly a set list from 89 that doesn't have a recording listed, and the song that we've never heard of before.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot of stuff like that, guaranteed.
Like, there's a song list entry I'm looking at right now called Magnetic Happiness, which is an unreleased demo circa 1992, pre-Siamese Dream.
I actually added that circa 92 last night because I saw the title in there. It had no information at all. It just said unreleased demo. I had to Google it and try and find the Netforia thread where people were talking about it. And then Davin said, oh, SPFC is accurate. And then I looked up the thread to find out where they found this information and any more specific information they were talking about. And then there was another song that I just could not find anything for at all because the title was Right Out the Door. And if you try and Google that, you're just going to find a bunch of sentences that include the phrase right out the door. So I couldn't find anything for that. I don't even know what era it's from.
Something makes me think that that's a pre-Gish live song, but I have nothing to back that up with.
Or maybe it's one of those mashed potatoes banter tracks or Morning Jam or something.
Yeah.
Happy fucking Valentine's.
An alternate title for Fat Man Blues.
He's called Fat Man Blues Part 2.
I really want to see if Billy releases anything from that session.
That's cool. Well, the first Real-Time Sessions 1 has a lot of great stuff, and it's not all just studio acoustic. There's a couple songs on the second one that I think are not just them playing stuff in the studio. Let me find it. Yeah, Come On, Honey Spider, and Cinnamon Girl, and then Bury Me. But, the first one, Snap, I think is cool. Psychedelic, Not Worth Asking, East.
Oh, I love East.
The Rhinoceros with the organ solo. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's gotta come out.
Yeah, looking through this list, there's a lot of this in SPFC, if you go to TSP and then click on unreleased and not played live and hide alternate titles, a lot of it really is Pistachio medley stuff. But
right. I need to find a way to hide those. I clicked through all of those last night and it was Pasticcio, 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 whiteboard song, Pasticcio, and then 5 in a row Pasticcio. It's okay, here's a song that says it's a Gish era demo.
Here's one untitled song, Hey Hey.
Yeah. Is that the one that says something about 6234?
No.
Or 6234, it says it came from a Marked song called just Hey. Or something like that. Evolved from the song Hey by the Marked. And then if you go to Hey, what does that actually say? Early song demo by the Marked that evolved into the song 6234 by the Smashing Pumpkins. Killer definitions, yay!
Yeah, I mean, the point is there's just a lot of stuff out there. Especially if he starts going back before, because we pretty much know nothing about the Pumpkins pre-1988.
Yeah.
So there was a whole year there where he was just kind of rehearsing and writing stuff with James and possibly Ron Rosing and Adrian Shane.
And then we even have that Hope track that was on the, was it Still Becoming Apart, or the 7-track Machina Promo or something like that?
Right.
Yeah.
Which evidence points to that being from way pre-Gish, 85 or 87 or something like that.
Right.
find that. And I'm sure that's not the only song from that session. Yeah, it says 85, 86.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how good any songs from back then would be, but it would be interesting to hear just from a historical perspective, like see what evolved into what, or what they, like if Billy used pieces of lyrics from one song and another.
Right. I mean, I'm not putting hope on like repeat one on my iPod for a whole day or anything like that, but it is cool to listen to. And there is some stuff that I would listen to a lot if I wasn't always so overwhelmed with how much crap is on my iPod. But I'm looking at actually, The Cure has done the same thing with releasing their old albums as deluxe editions with an extra disc of stuff. And just looking through the first one of those, Three Imaginary Boys, the second disc has, let's see, a released live song, 2 demo versions of Boys Don't Cry, home demos of a bunch of songs I've never heard of before and have never been released. You know, a home demo, studio demo, and a live version of 10:15 Saturday Night. So I'm not saying that the Pumpkins are going to go with the exact same kind of format or whatever with this, but there are multiple copies of the same song on here. So I don't think it would be completely out of the question for the Pumpkins to say put 2 different versions of I Am One or Rhinoceros or whatever out on the same kind of release.
Yeah, something like that organ version of Rhinoceros just seems really likely, since we know there is a good quality recording of it.
Oh yeah,
it was a famous song. It has a funky organ. But what do you think about? I mean, a few people have brought up, you know, what if the stuff that he releases is already out there in the trading community? I mean, would fans have the right to be upset if he did release mostly stuff that we already have? I mean, we know things exist that we don't have, but what if he just kind of chooses to release things that we do already have?
I'm sure it'll be a mix. I mean, there's a lot of stuff from Real Time specifically and like Mashed Potatoes and other things that are really good and are likely to get released. I mean,
and I think should be released.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned Jesus Loves His Babies. I mean, the hardcore fans already have that. Maybe it's a different version of it. I don't know. Well, I don't know if there's more than one studio version of that, but maybe put a live version out but given the amount of stuff that he's gotta have hidden away that none of us have ever heard of before, I'm sure there's going to be something that like even Frank or even me or even Dave or whatever, like even the hardest of the hardcore fans who go online and download everything and listen to every show on the LMA or whatever haven't heard yet. I mean, there's got to be something in there that he's going to put out that has never been heard of before.
Well, I think there's a big difference between, you know, the audience recordings that we have, especially from those early days, and
right.
Hopefully what Billy has, especially if they do a little bit of studio cleanup for stuff that they would release. Like if they did release a show as part of the digital box set stuff.
Soundboard version of Salt.
Finally.
Well, the other thing is, I think, you know, if it were to be stuff that people have already heard, I do think there would be angry fans. There are always angry fans.
Oh, yeah.
I think the point is that stuff deserves to get out for people to hear it, you know, that are casual fans, younger people that are going to buy these albums to learn about the Pumpkins, this band they've heard about. So, you know, I mean, I think it would be, you know, sort of annoying, but on the other hand, you know, if he releases some physical album with stuff that I can have already heard and have downloaded, and then the digital box set is the stuff I haven't heard, and that, in some ways, that saves me from buying this physical re-release, you know? So in some ways, I would actually be okay with him only putting the best of the best, the stuff from Mashed Potatoes or whatever, on these re-releases if it kind of saved me from buying them. Because, I mean, over the next 3 years, there's going to be some serious sticker shock with all these releases they're doing. So
you know, you're going to buy them all anyway.
Maybe.
But we also don't know how they're going to get released. Like, is it going to be, you know, in early November, all three of them show up in stores at the same time, or will they spread it out a little bit to try and build momentum? Or I wonder, I guess it's probably more bang for the PR buck to do it all at once.
Well,
when other bands have done it, do you know if other bands have done them one at a time or all at once?
Let me see if I can find out when the first batch of Cure ones came out.
I have most of Vic Chestnut's albums they did this for, and I think they all came out in the same year. Maybe not at the same time, but they released them kind of one by one in the same year. Don't quote me on that. I'm probably totally wrong, but that's kind of what I remember. So,
Jason always makes fun of me for listening to 90s punk ska, but one band, Less Than Jake, did this a few years ago, where they re-released their first 3 albums or so, kind of like this. I think they came with DVDs or something like that, and they released them all at once, I believe.
I remember a couple years ago, Alanis Morissette re-released Jagged Little Pill, the 10th anniversary version, and I just felt so old.
Hey man, what about Thriller 25? Okay, Cure Deluxe Editions. The first album came out in December 2004. The second two, 17 Seconds and Faith, came out the same day, April 26, 2005. And then Pornography came out one day after that, which is kind of weird because usually records are all released on the same weekday. So those 3 were all kind of done on the same day. After that, the next 3 were all released on the same day a year later. August 2006 had The Top Hat on the Door and Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. And then Disintegration came out just last June. It's a long time in between.
If you think about it, their 2 biggest albums that are probably going to get the most interest are obviously Siamese Dream and Melancholy. So I'm wondering if, the label will release, them in batches of 3 just to, kind of have the loss leaders and then the one that's going to make them the cash.
Right, because, you go in saying, Pumpkins released Siamese Dream, and you go into the record store and, oh, look, there's Gish and Pisces here, too. Let's get those at the same time.
I just don't know if Pisces Iscariot re-release could really, sustain its own release.
Right. I mean, it's B-sides.
Right. It's B-sides with more B-sides.
Right. So, I can't even remember off the top of my head besides Spaced. What else is not actually... What is original from there? Soothe. Was Were on anything else?
I don't think so.
No. So
nor was it ever played live. Yet.
And Spaced.
I've heard people say Pisces is their favorite album. And then I'm like, but it's not really an album.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Maybe we need Wikipedia to define the strict definition of album.
The official
Is it
definition.
listed under the albums or under the compilations and whatever section?
Well, that's why it'll be interesting to see what he does with that and Aeroplane Flies High, because he's obviously treating Machina 2 as, part of the Machina era and making it into one album, or at least that's his plan right now. But he alludes to the fact that Pisces and Aeroplane are going to be separate releases. So is he going to rearrange all the songs? I mean, is the re-release of Aeroplane Flies High going to also include 1979 and Below with Butterfly Wings?
Yep, Pisces Iscariot is listed on Wiki under the section compilation albums, along with Siamese Singles, which I didn't really think of as compilation before, Airplane Flies High, Rotten Apples, Judas O, and Rarities and B-Sides.
That is the final word.
Because Wiki is always right.
Well, what about stuff that was written or sung by the other former band members? Will we have to pop in Mashed Potatoes every time we want to hear a Waves song, or will Billy include the James sung classics in with the other material and buck up and pay James his royalties?
Well, I'm sure that the other members are going to get royalties anyway because they were involved in those recordings. So the label will probably handle that part, but I don't see them not getting paid for this stuff because it's, well, you can argue about whether they actually played on the album or not, but it's it's assigned to them as far as copyright and royalties, so I'm sure they will all get paid. As far as putting out like James songs and stuff, there is reason to believe that Go was put on Machina 2 without James like knowledge or consent. Maybe not like, I don't want to say Billy like went behind his back and just added it on there, but I remember kind of in one of the few times that I actually like talked to James back in 2000, we were always saying, oh, like Go is such a great song, and he's like, how do you guys know that song? It's like, oh, it's on Machina 2, and he's just like, oh. That wasn't really finished.
I was saving that for my next solo album.
Aw.
Yeah, when is that? He's still working on that, apparently.
Yeah, in theory.
Yeah. I actually heard a interview with him on Japanese radio because I recently discovered a ukulele song featuring James Iha from 2005. It's this Japanese ukulele artist that James did backup instruments and vocals on. He actually sings in Japanese. Kind of interesting. But yeah, they had a radio interview and he was saying, yeah, I'm still working on my new album. Don't know when it's going to come out.
And this was from 2005?
No, the interview was probably a little bit after that. I don't remember when it was from. It's on YouTube under Ayano Tsuji and James Iha or something like that. Let me find it.
I'd be content with a second Tinted Windows album. I really like that band. I do.
Never did pick up the first
them?
Tinted Windows album.
I kind of like Hanson, so I actually don't have any other albums, but everything I've heard of Hanson's, I've always thought they were pretty good, so I guess that's why. But
I actually went to their show here. It was pretty good. You could actually hear James's guitar. In like the other, there's a couple of Pumpkins fans that have websites that I actually met at the San Francisco shows a few years ago that were at the show too, and our big thing coming out of that show was like, oh my god, you can actually hear James's guitar. I can't find this interview now.
I also wonder if we'll hear... we know at least one of the songs that made it onto James's solo album started out as a Pumpkins song, Country Girl, so maybe there's a Pumpkins version of some of the James Iha solo songs, since we've gone completely down the rabbit hole here.
The video interview, or the audio interview that's on YouTube on the video that says it was uploaded in 2008, but it's probably from a bit earlier than that. I just thought it was funny because it says it's uploaded by Mayonnaise 999.
yeah, I mean it.
I don't think there's obviously not going to be as many James Iha songs from back then, just because he doesn't write as many songs as Billy or whatever, but we obviously are still going to have Blew Away on Pisces. Wave Song, I don't know. I think he would pass that over in favor of more stuff like Molass Kiss or something.
Yeah. I definitely hope that Molass Kiss makes it onto one of the official releases. I think it's a great song. That could make it onto Pisces, since it's included in the rambling liner notes.
Yeah. I Molass Kiss to your precious lips. I can't believe I still remember that stuff.
I must have read those liner notes like over and over and over again after I got that album, trying to make sense of them and decipher what secrets lay within.
I remember reading through the whole thing and typing in all the interesting parts to put them onto Luna. Through since then. Yeah, are there any other James songs from back then? Well, there's Terrapin that James was on, which sort of has been released if you either have the rarities and B-sides or the IM1 10-inch, but...
Yeah, I guess there's not really that much that we know of. At least ones that were James sang on them. There may be others that James wrote or contributed writing on that Billy sang.
Yeah. Well, super early stuff, James did a lot more backing vocals, right?
Yeah, like Under Your Spell.
And stuff.
Yeah.
She, or even Bury Me. Yeah, I don't see any other Gish era songs that are like James, unless I just don't remember them. Like, I can't think of off the top of my head which song Cinder is. I know I'm a terrible fan.
I could sing it, but I don't want to punish the few listeners that we still have after our talks of obscure minutia. Punish them even more by attempting to sing Cinder.
The thing about, overall with these archive projects, I would say, I think if you can imagine an alternate history of the band in which that Billy and James had parted on more amicable terms, I think you could see potentially James having more involvement in putting them together. It's clear that he's not really having much, if any, involvement, probably none. So, I'm sure that Billy, I don't know, I think Billy will try to give him a fair shake, but I just don't see Billy including a lot of that material. I think Billy sees this not really as just a Smashing Pumpkins archives project, but a, Billy Corgan lifetime music archive project or whatever. Because when you think about it, if he's releasing, stuff this winter, next winter, and the following winter, and then in 2014 he gets the rights to Zwan and everything, well then he'll be, re-releasing Zwan the year after that. So it's just going to potentially continue on as long as he can get the backing, to do.
Yeah, he actually tweeted about that today.
Yeah.
About Zwan, his solo album, and Zeitgeist, getting the rights to those in 2014.
That's going to be the massive, crazy time, because there's so much in that time period that was recorded that's not available, that we don't even know about. Like 70-some Chicago songs.
Right. It would be like if we never got any of the pre-Gish stuff and never got a hold of Mashed Potatoes.
And then it all came out.
And then it all came out all at once.
Whoa!
Can you imagine that? I've actually had dreams where I've gone into a record store and found a Pumpkins album that had songs that I've never heard of before. I'm like, oh my god, this is so awesome! And then I wake up, I'm like, oh man.
I have too. That's when you know that you've been at it too long.
And then I try to remember what the song titles were just for fun, but never can.
Well, thanks for joining us this week for our hour of geeky speculation. You can leave your own speculative comments at hipstersunited.com. Our closing song is a pre-Gish favorite, Try to Try, from Madison, Wisconsin on June 16th, 1990. Good night, everybody.
Thanks.
The Hipsters United podcast is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Smashing Pumpkins, Virgin Records, or Warner Brothers Reprise Records. All opinions offered by panelists or guests of the Hipsters United podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of the Smashing Pumpkins. All audio during the show is licensed for non-profit use per the terms and conditions on the Live Music Archive at archive.org. Intro music is from the Machina 2 album released for free download on the internet by the Smashing Pumpkins in September of 2000.